Hey everybody, welcome to the I Am Podcast YouTube channel.
Make sure to tap the bell, subscribe, and comment down below.
Hey everybody.
Welcome back to the I Am Podcast.
I am so excited about this episode. I don't know what, it just feels like, so excited.
I'm very, very excited. We are very, very excited to welcome Hope. Hope is new with ANU, and you've probably seen her around. She does the interviews for the hopeful parents. Hope, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Hope, and I am a part-time kindergarten teacher, as well as I work for ANU part-time for the most part. And like Jara said, I've been doing some interviews with intended parents that I really have been enjoying, that have been great, as well as kind of just like an admin assistant for Karen.
What's your favorite part about what you do for ANU right now? Like all of the things you do, what do you enjoy the most?
In terms of ANU, I would say I really enjoy getting to know IP stories. Like, I don't know, it's one thing to see the posts and read the information, but to actually have the opportunity to sit down and get to know them on a more personable level, it's just, I don't know, there's something different about it and it's very unique. And every interview is different and unique in its own way. And yeah.
It's such a gift to me to be able to meet people on that level and get to know them in that way. Because these people are very vulnerable and they really just want to share their story. So it's very cool that you get to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And you never know where your conversations are going to lead. And you always hope for like a natural, easy conversation wherever that leads us. And a lot of funny stories come up in really interesting moments. And it's cool just to get to see them light up and get to share how far, they've come in their journey and whatnot.
I do think that's really important. We talked about it a lot here, just like how emotional this journey is, how deep it is, and how much hurt there can be involved.
And how exhausting it can be.
Yeah, so to hear those people perk up and be excited and remember why they fell in love and remember why they started this journey, I think is a really nice thing. And I think you do a really good job channeling that and bringing yes, we're here because this is what we need, and that can be really hard, but also making it a happy thing again, because sometimes I think we get lost in the hurt and the hard.
Yeah, I think giving people a space to look back and see how far they've come and how deep into this journey they are and how close they are to that finish line is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, and even after we're done the interviews, I'll email them and say thank you so much for interviewing, you did a great job. And then a lot of them make comments of that actually was so amazing, I'm so glad that we did that. And then they comment on the fact that it makes it feel more real.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It kind of brings back that anticipation and excitement in that moment of what they're doing and how far they've come and the anticipation of what is to come.
Right.
Well, we talk so much, especially Lauren and I on the surrogacy side, when we're talking to ladies who are interested in becoming surrogates about the hurry up and wait. And that's very true for intended parents too. Very much you hurry to make embryos, or you hurry to come here to bring sperm, or there's always parts that catch you off guard, you need to happen really fast, and then it's time goes by and nothing's happened. It's like learning how to drive standard. Sometimes you're really going and sometimes you're not going at all.
Yeah. So Hope, how did I'd love for you to tell the people how you kind of came to ANU.
Okay. So it's definitely a fun connection. I started dating Maria's brother 2.5 years ago. I've obviously known Maria for quite a few years, so that was kind of my connection through college and university and whatnot. So it has been a while. And so anyways, Um, Started dating Jeremy, and then I don't know. I honestly I love teaching a lot. I taught full time last year, and it was a really hard year for me, and it was very challenging. And I felt like I just needed a break from teaching full time. So it's actually worked out really well to kind of jump in with ANU and just kind of see where that goes. So working part-time teaching and then doing this part-time and helping Karen out and whatnot.
Very cool.
And the other thing that we wanted to actually talk about today, we wanted to touch on your interviews. And I wanted to ask, so for intended parents who might be listening, what do you find makes a good interview?
Oh, that's a good question. I would probably say the ability to bring in personal stories and experiences when talking about certain questions, I guess, if that makes sense. So, like, if I were to ask a question in an interview, it's really helpful if IPs can come in with an answer that's related to their personal life, funny stories, things that they've experienced, just to kind of help make that connection, I guess. That would be a really, really big point, I guess, to try to aim for. Um, as well as just being yourself. I always encourage IPs just to be natural and be you and kind of just answer it however you feel, just so that, I don't know, answering naturally just helps other people relate to you, if that makes sense.
People can tell when it's scripted.
Yeah, exactly. And I always remind don't rehearse your answers. Like if they do see the questions before, and usually I do give them that opportunity, don't recite or write things down. Just kind of think about it, ponder, and then at least you come a little bit prepared, but there's no reason to kind of script it.
Yeah, no, I love that. Hope, so you are doing an egg donation.
Yes.
Are you excited?
I'm really excited. I have honestly, ever since Maria and I met, egg donation has kind of been one of those things that I've thought about. And I didn't fully commit up until this point now, just because I think I feel ready personally to do it. And one of those reasons as to why I chose that was because of working for ANU. So I think working with IPs directly and getting to hear their stories and get to know them has kind of encouraged me to think about it more and be like, actually, you know what? I would really like to do a donation and make someone's world a better place.
Yeah, totally. Have you met your intended parents yet, Hope?
No. So my intended parents are from Toronto. And so I did go to a Nova fertility clinic to do my screening. And it didn't quite work out to meet up with them. I kind of wanted to, but it was also kind of the unknown of if I go through screening and it doesn't work out, that I wouldn't be able to donate. I wouldn't want to kind of set that up and then have it fail. So we've kind of waited up until, well, today actually, Karen introduced me through email to my IPs for the first time. So
Very cool. Um, how do you feel about that? That they're Canadian. Like I know my intended parents for this donation I just did. They're Canadian as well. They actually live in Calgary, but my original IPs are overseas, so it does feel differently. How do you feel about them being relatively quite close?
yeah, I think obviously I don't have anything else to compare it to like you would. Um, but it is nice to feel like they're close. And I'm definitely someone that I would prefer to meet them in person and get to know them. When I go for my egg donation retrieval, I would like to go for coffee and, meet on that level, get to know them and kind of build that relationship based on experiences. I think that's a really unique opportunity, especially when it's something that's like it's a gift that I'm giving that's so close to me and important. It is a neat aspect to have them in Canada.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Every relationship is different. Like, I have relationships that are close and far, and there are things that I really appreciate about all of them. Like, it does suck that, you know, my family they are overseas, but like, I get to see pictures and hear about adventures that you don't get here in Canada.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really neat too. And, you know, to plan to travel there and like some things like that. But also, I take comfort in knowing the families that are close, that it would be like, you know, we could go for a drive and we could, you know, meet up for brunch. Like, it's kind of cool to have both options or to have both experiences.
Yeah.
But I don't think either one take away
no, like
change. It's just different.
Yeah. Is this something that you hope that you might do again, or are you going to be one and done?
I think as long as my first one goes well, like so far it's been a great experience. I really enjoyed flying to Toronto and doing my screening appointment and whatnot. And as long as the official retrieval goes semi-smooth, like I mean, I hear stories obviously, and sometimes that makes me a little bit nervous, but I mean, I'm like, you know what? I got this. It's okay. So as long as it goes well, I would definitely consider doing a second donation, as long as timing works out and everything like that.
It is like, I just had my retrieval this week, and Hope and I were talking about it, and I was telling her how I had my cervix frozen, and the poor girl, her eyes got about as big as dinner plates. And yeah, like there are parts of egg donation that are uncomfortable and annoying and this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, it is a gift, and it's pretty cool.
I think that's something that, like, from the other side, and someone who sees so many of these and sees so many relationships flourish and so many like long-term things come of it, it's like that one moment in time where you're uncomfortable means not only that someone else has a family for the rest of their life, but you have that connection. And, you know, it's something, I mean, it's not an experience that you've had, but, you know, sometimes when you have frustrations with different parts of the journey, I really try to remind people, because you don't see it when you're in that moment.
No.
But like, this is so much bigger than your, you know, your frustration with your nurse, or like this or that, or missing a cycle. Like,
whatever,
this is so much bigger of a journey than just that piece.
And like, I mean, before I had an egg baby, like, I knew that this was cool and like something very cool to do, and I knew that it was very, like, I've always been very open with it. Like, I just think it's so neat and something to share, but I didn't know how cool it was until my egg baby was born. And I got to meet him, and it was just like, damn, like, it's it changes the aspect of how you think about it, for sure.
Well, it's definitely like, for me anyways, it's a practice that you actually kind of have to apply yourself and kind of put yourself in the future and think about what your egg baby is going to be, you know, in the future. And that is a little baby in someone's lives, and that is connected to you DNA wise. And I think that's a really cool.
I just think like, I mean, I'm starting to creep up there, but like, I think the like 40, 50, 6-year-old version of me is gonna be like that is the coolest thing you did. And like, you can't
change the world.
You can't, that's not something you can decide to do at 50, or something you can, like, there is like a time and a shelf life on this, if you will, unfortunately. And something that you can't, like a lot of things in life, you can't go back and do. And I just think that my future self is going to be so proud that I did that for something else, especially like as I age and, you know, Rin gets older and, you know, maybe one day I have grandkids and stuff like that. I think you soak in and appreciate so much more some of those like family connections, and watching that go. And, you know, not only are these babies making parents, they're making grandparents and aunts and uncles. And
one day our egg babies are going to have babies, which is pretty cool too.
And I think that effect is just so big. Like the ripple
really
effect is.
It changes the world.
Yeah.
It's very cool. So, Hope, can you tell us a fun fact about yourself that not many people know?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say I love to sing.
Oh. Jesse's like, what?
Yeah, Jesse and I are like, wow.
Like in the
It's like-
car or like karaoke?
I don't know. I haven't, yeah, like talked about it actually even in the last few years, because you kind of get like caught up in life with the busyness of being an adult, and rarely do I ever actually apply myself to sing. Like mostly I just sing in the car or in the shower, but it is something that I do really enjoy,
Oh, Hope's
but I
gotta
don't
go
talk
for
about it.
karaoke.
Yeah,
I
this
love
is
karaoke.
great. Jara loves karaoke, and
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
sit at the table and watch. So now that I know this, you can go sing with Jara at karaoke.
Actually, I would be so down for that. I think I just don't talk about it because I'm generally an introverted person, and I don't love speaking in front of people and doing presentations and things like that. I've become better as an adult, but growing up I was always really nervous about it. So I just kind of like hide that about myself so that no one asks me to do anything that has to deal with singing in front of people. But
Oh, we're going to karaoke.
I will video.
Okay, Hope, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah.
oh, I think, I don't know. Maybe could you talk about one of the highlights of your experiences as an egg donor? What was your favorite part about the experience?
Definitely meeting my intended parents. Like getting to meet them and really get to know them. Like that's such a blessing, and I am very grateful for that. It's a relationship that I do not take for granted. It's something very special to me.
And I think for me this is like twofold, because my like gut reaction heart thing is like, well, meeting the babies that result from this is like my initial like,
of course that's really cool. But...
and I think the relation, like the early stages of relationships are fun. Like there's so much that you don't know. It's like new, and you're learning so much about each other, and that's a lot of fun for me. And I think I don't want to say like me selfishly, but I loved the adventure. I loved the traveling by myself. Mm-hmm. I loved seeing something new. I tried to do that with every donation. Like I went somewhere new or somewhere cool, and I really love, like, for me, selfishly, the personal growth that came from that. Like, the things I conquered and the things I did that otherwise wouldn't have happened because of this. And I think for me, that's maybe, like, for Maria, that's really cool. I mean,
the concept of, like, giving yourself medication like that for potentially, like, over a week, maybe 2, that was terrifying to me. Like, I am quite holistic in that way, and so the idea of taking IVF meds was, like, oh, but I did it, and it wasn't bad, and like, you know, like, I think we work things up in our head so much, but meeting my IPs and then ending up to meet my egg baby just made everything like so full circle, worth it, perfect.
I think the other benefit too is like the things I learned about myself and my body. That was really cool to me. Like I'm a sciencey enough person that was cool, and like information I otherwise wouldn't have received about myself.
I did not want to be awake, but being awake for my past retrieval was actually really cool. Like I was quite upset at the idea of being awake, but after being awake and seeing it, that was really neat.
I think it just makes it that much more real, because when you go through retrieval and you're, high as a kite in a really good place. And I mean, Jara still was in a really good place.
Oh, yeah.
She
great
just,
place.
like, Jara was very happy. Don't get me wrong. I think it was really...
I felt like George Jones.
Yeah, like, she felt like more...
Yeah.
Like, I think the concept of being awake was more actually stressful than what actually happened.
Yeah, totally. Because for my previous ones, I've been out.
Yeah. So I think it was really cool to see, like,
Yeah.
kind of the
I'm
difference.
taking pictures of Dr. Perwani. He's like, please sit still. Yeah.
And
No,
I-
that was really cool.
I think it just makes it, when you're out, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think because you got to be more awake, I mean, I'll tell you, as her best friend, a lot of things she still doesn't remember.
Yeah.
But I think the things that, like, you did get to see and you did get to be a part of and be a little more present for made it that much more real.
Oh, totally. Like, my mom came with me to my second donation, and she came into the room with me and, like, sat with me during the retrieval. And that was so cool for her, and it's something she still talks about because she got
was
to
there.
see it.
She was present and
she got
accounted
to see
for.
it. Yeah, I was not present. So I just didn't, you don't know what you don't know. Like,
And
it
I
was
think,
very neat.
unfortunately, because we're so rural, we don't necessarily get the opportunity to, like, go to a ton of retrievals and see it happen on the regular.
Yeah.
We get to support people through that, and we've done it ourselves, but, you know, everyone takes their person with them when they go for a retrieval. Like, they're happy to get a text from us. They're like, they don't need us there to hold their hands.
Yeah,
They're like,
exactly, yeah. They have their own person. So, yeah, it was really neat.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I can't talk about my retrieval yet because it hasn't happened and I don't really have anything to base off that yet. But with my screening, when Maria talked about just the adventure side of things, I really can definitely relate to that. Like, I flew to Toronto by myself, which I've never flown by myself anywhere, nor have I actually, like, honestly traveled outside of Alberta by myself. Like, I've always been with somebody. And so that was a big step outside my comfort zone, let alone, like, finding a taxi at, 10 o'clock at night and trying to get to your hotel. And that was, like, terrifying.
It was cold when I went, and I had mitts on, and I carried a pocket knife in my mitt because I was terrified. And then by, like, day 2, I was like, oh, I'm a pro. It's good. No worries.
That's how I felt because I was scared when I first landed. And then my taxi driver was honestly, like, I feared for my life a couple times because I don't mean to be rude or anything like that, but he was probably in his 80s.
oh.
Yeah. And he liked to drive in the middle of the, like, I don't know, is it like the white lines on the highway? So he was taking up 2 lanes the whole drive to my hotel. And I was, like, gripping onto the, like, door handle because he'd be, like, swerving through traffic. I'm like, oh my goodness.
I was like, this is actually my stop. I'd like to get off here.
It was terrifying. But then, like, once I got to my hotel, I like, settled in, and I did walk to go get supper down the street. And then you're right, Jared, like, the next day, I was like, you know what, this is actually not that bad.
Very cool.
When we were, for my first retrieval, I don't know if you guys know this story or not, we actually got into an accident on the way to the airport. So that was like a million moons ago. That would be 8 years ago now. And so back then, what we did for donors and surrogates, because, like, Uber and some things like that weren't really a thing, and it was cheaper to do, like, what they called a limo taxi from the airport to downtown. As you could do that for, it was like $55 or $60, and it was a flat rate, so it didn't matter if you were stuck in traffic or whatever. And it was a bougie way to go. Like, instead of getting a yellow cab, you got into, like, a big black SUV, and you kind of felt like a Kardashian for a hot second. And then you got your card, and then you could call the service, and then when you were ready to go back to the airport, they'd pick you up and take you back. And so I'd had my retrieval the day before, and, ready to go home, like, just ready to be home. Call the limo taxi, they show up, and it's rush hour. And then we get this guy change lanes into us. And I just kept looking at the clock. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, there's, like, lanes of traffic, and, like, traffic's still moving, and a cop had actually seen this all happen. There was, like, a cop a couple lanes over, and I just, like, they were like, oh, are you okay? Like, everything, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I just really like to get to the airport, please. Like,
Yeah.
this is way too many people.
This
for
is
me.
actually really interfering with my day.
Yeah, like this is too many lanes of traffic for me. But they were so good. Our driver was so sweet, and we got there on time, and we weren't late at all. But yeah, that was a real thing. Like, I would have
had a mental breakdown.
I could drive in downtown Toronto, like that wouldn't scare me. But man, would I be pissed off by the end?
Yeah.
Like, that is too much for me.
Yeah. The whole like 6 lanes of traffic, like that's just I don't need that. Well, Lorraine and I went to Boston Pizza last night, and like half the tables were full, and I was like, oh my god, it's crowded in here.
Yeah.
Like,
And half the tables were full.
yeah, there's no way I could live in Toronto.
When we went to like Washington D.C. for my aunt's wedding in 2018, that's actually where my wedding dress was bought when I got married. And so we were going to this store, and my aunt like let us borrow her little standard car. And here I am. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of the Springfield mixing bowl,
Okay.
and it's a 16-lane interstate change.
Terrifying.
And it was actually so fun. But like I had like a full-time navigator, like my mom was telling me where I needed to go.
Yeah.
So it was just up to me to manage. And like even in a standard car, like it was great. Could I do it every day? No. But it was like, it's so fun to like say like I tackled that. Like I would put that on a t-shirt and wear it. Like I conquered the Springfield mixing bowl.
Kudos to you for driving in Washington, D.C. because like when Jeremy and I went this last summer, I was like sweating sitting in the back seat because Washington, D.C. drivers drive so much more aggressively.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there is no, like, Canadian, I'm sorry, may I please get in, no, like, courtesy wave, nothing. Like, it is full-on bumper cars there. Like, you're just, and you better hope you don't hit something.
That's literally, I was kind of shocked. I was like, I could never, I don't know, maybe you get used to it, I guess. But in that moment, I was like, these people are crazy.
I feel like give it 6 months and you'd be like, get out of my way! Like,
lay it on the horn, beep, beep, mofo.
Yeah, and they use their horns so much in Washington. And I felt like that in Toronto too. Like,
yeah.
Beep, beep. Like, oh, yeah, no, it is a language there.
That's funny. Well, Hope, we don't want to keep you forever, so thank you. Thank you for sharing your story with us.
And we're almost kind of jealous you get to interview intended parents.
Oh, I'm super jealous. I think it's just the coolest thing.
And you do such a good job.
Yeah, it's great. It's my favorite thing. I watch them all the time. So.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Stay
for what you
warm.
do
I'm
here
excited,
with us.
like, once I do my retrieval, we can do another.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be so good. And maybe we'll have you set up so you can like sit with us.
Yeah. So thank you, Hope.
Yes,
and
thank
we
you.
will be chatting with you very soon after your retrieval is over.
Okay, sounds good. See you.
Bye.